Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're going to get a look at the We Zephyr. We can get a look inside it, and before we do that, we'll get a quick first look at this knife. This is an absolute beauty. I haven't really been blown away by a We knife in a while, but wow, this guy is an absolute beauty. I've seen some of the other colors that'll be coming out, and ooh, and it has got a beautiful action. So anyhow, let's get a look at what's inside it. First thing is, we're going to be using this guy to get inside this knife. No star screws here. So, let's get at it. Got T8 for everything, I believe. Get our pivot screw out of there. And looks like we got two body screws. Body screw out. This body screw out. Nope, I'm about to goof up. Let's get this knife open so we don't have it popping apart on us. Get this body screw out. There we go. And see if we can lift this thing apart. Ooh, as always, you know, I know dealing with We and taking apart a lot of their knives, they just make knives that fit the way they're supposed to. Come apart fairly easily, and it's just a pleasure to work with them. So what do we have inside here? Well, there's our collar for our pivot screw, and if we're going to get that little, we'll get him out. Got our hardened steel washer back in there. Doesn't want to come out. There it is, our hardened steel washer. And we're not going to take that little puzzle piece out, but that little puzzle piece right there is your lock interface, and right there, right in here, get some light on you there, right in there is the over travel stop. So you can only go so far with it. Very nice. And here on the blade we have our standard We bearings. Let's lift that blade out of there. And as I said in a previous video, We has started being more consistent with the way they put the bearings in, and always putting the cages in the counter bore. So that's always great. Means that there's less chance of getting junk down in your bearings. And the bearings are the same thickness no matter which way you put them in. There's our stop pin fell out on us. So anyhow, it doesn't matter really which way you put them in, but if you put them in where the open side of the bearing, and let me explain that. See how you can see all the little balls, and you can see the little bends in the bearing race. That's what I'm calling the open side of the bearing. Whenever you flip that guy over, that's the closed side of the bearing, where all you see is about, I don't know, a little bit of the ball sticking up in the bearing. And the closed side will do a good job of keeping debris out, but the open side doesn't do such a good job. But anyhow, there we go. We've got a pin here, we've got a sleeve here to hold this backspacer in. And they have went down through this backspacer and milled an area out. See how it is on this side where you got a little space? You can call that a crud catcher or a lint catcher. But looks pretty darn good to me. And we probably don't need to take that out. Another piece we need to look at is this carbon fiber inlay. And look how nicely that's done. That is some well done inlay. I can just barely feel a ridge. So I run my finger across that. And look at the milling down through there. That is some beautiful stuff. Get a look at the other side real quick, where we have more of the same. And look where this lock bar cutout goes. It goes right up against the carbon fiber. That is beautiful. Nice pocket clip. And I do want to see that pocket clip, how it's setting down in there. So we're going to attempt to get it. Yeah, it's going to come out. So we do have an area pocket milled in there to hold the pocket clip in place. Very nice. Overall, just a really well done knife. I mean, look at that blade. Woo! That is hot. Anyhow, you guys know the drill. I'm going to get the Vibratide out. I'm going to Vibratide everything, and then it's going to take 30 minutes for the Vibratide to cure so that we can move along with putting it back together. Oh, there we go. I'll be back with you in about 30 minutes, or instantly in your case. All right, the 30 minutes has elapsed, so let's get our We Zephyr back together again. Put our hardened steel washer in there, and one of the things with a We knife, you see that little step right there on our pivot? That is what keeps this thing from free spinning. You can see a little step right there as well. So we want to get this in here and make sure it falls down in place. And it's not perfect. There's a little bit of wiggle in there, but get it down in there where that step is in place, or trust me, your We knife will not go back together right. And while we were off, I cleaned everything up. So we'll get some 10 weight nano oil and drop just a little bit on our bearing. Slide it down in there with the closed side up. And there we go. Get our 85 weight and put just one drop right in the detent hole. And I'll hold this up here where you can see what I'm doing. Just one drop. And as I've said many times before, the reason I do that is so that that detent ball can pick up that 85 weight oil and spread it around the detent path, which this knife barely has because it's essentially brand new. You can barely, there you go, see the detent path. So we need to get our other bearing in. That means we need to get our 10 weight back out here. And goes in with the cage side up. Put our hardened steel washer right there. Oh, and to get our stop pin back in there, that'd be important. Forget the stop pin, that would kind of mess things up, I think. And then we should be able to, oh, a little bit of goop in there. Get that out. Should be able to set this right over the top. And there you go. Sometimes you got to lift up on the lock bar a little bit to get that to go in. But right there it went. Put our collar back in place. Get our pivot screw and our T8. This is a beautiful thing. Only needing a T8 to work on the entire knife. I really appreciate whenever the We knives show up with the torque screws, because they're all T8 all the way across, consistent sizing, which means I don't have to go hunting several different Torx drivers. If I've got two T8s, I'm in good shape for anything that might get thrown at us. And I got a little bit of gunk on that screw. Have to get that off. That's excess Vibratite dried on there from Yeah, that stuff is kind of like, oh, I don't even know how to say it. It's like dealing with some kind of stringy glue. And sometimes you get a little more than you bargain for. And you don't need a whole lot. As long as you've got enough Vibratite to get into the threads, you're in good shape. You don't need to cover it like you do with Loctite. And there we go. Let's see what we've got. We've got a knife that is not tight. So where did we go wrong? Is it there? I don't think it's there. I bet that our little pivot piece got loose on us, or we got some crap up in here. That happens from time to time. So everything there looks fine. It feels like it's down in there. If we got there we go. Yeah, there we go. And we're all straight again. And this little Zephyr has just got the best little action. I think I may have got it just a bit tight because I was worried there. But for them, yeah, there we go. The most part on these newer We knives, you can just tighten them down, everything's snug, and you are good to go. Perfectly centered. There's your Zephyr. Man, that's a good looking knife. Anyhow, guys, that is what's inside the We Zephyr. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me and getting a look at the Zephyr and that nice carbon fiber inlay and that nice cut right there. I mean, that is some beautiful stuff, guys. And we will get to a full overview of this knife in the coming days. It is a nice one. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.